I am Franny Zawatsky. Um, I am the secretary of AHNCA, and I am currently working as an independent freelance researcher for museums for curatorial. And I will turn it over to Kaylee.
I am Kaylee Alexander, and I'm a PhD candidate at Duke University. And I also just joined the board of AHNCA as a at-large member. I work on cemeteries and funerary monuments. Teresa, take it away.
I'm Teresa Cunningham. I'm a PhD candidate at Penn State and the Margaret Mainwaring Curatorial Fellow in the Department of Prints, Drawings, and Photographs at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And I work on kind of issues of urban space and 19th century, broadly speaking.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining me today and talking about this new initiative that AHNCA's been doing. Can you tell me a little bit about how it got started?
Sure. We actually had a Facebook page that was started, I believe, in 2014, and it was relatively inactive. I don't know how that particular portion of it got started. I don't know when the idea came up, but before CAA 2 years ago, there was a conversation on the board about what should we do? Should we join social media? Should we be more active? And it went to the board at CAA, and the next thing I know, we were voting on it and saying yes, that it should be active. And I basically started with the Facebook page and got the list of people who were interested in helping, Kaylee and Teresa, and handed them over the reins for Twitter and Instagram and the Facebook page, and they ran with it. So we've been active on social media since August, I believe, of last year.
Yeah, 2019.
So 2019, yeah. And since then, I will give full credit to Kaylee and Teresa for building social media and taking the reins on this. So if the two of you want to talk about how you view the start of this, I would like for you to do that, because I think you need to have the voice in this, because you two are like the backbone of this initiative.
Yeah, I mean, at the 19 CAA was when we had this vote and decided to start this up. I was really interested in it because I noticed a lot of other similar associations, smaller and larger, were being really active on social media. I had just gotten more active on Twitter myself, so I thought it was going to be useful to get involved a little bit more there. Like Franny said, in August, we got all of the different social media platforms started, and in September, there was like an event in Paris, so I decided to go to that and sort of live tweet it, and we ended up getting a lot of followers on Twitter really quickly. And then I just have sort of been retweeting and sending out little tidbits of information about AHNCA and related 19th century events and things like that. But Teresa really took the reins on the Instagram, so you can go from that.
With the Instagram, we got started doing like posts about artists' birthdays and holidays, so nothing like totally new and different, but a nice place to have all of that for 19th century artists. And then we've used it to promote recent articles from 19th century art worldwide, and we've talked a lot about doing like takeovers by specific people, but we haven't totally rolled those out yet.
Right. And I think what's been happening, and I think Kaylee and Teresa can to speak to this as well, is that each of these platforms has their own group of users. There's a certain demographic that uses Facebook, and running the numbers and running reports based on each platform, we're hitting a wide variety of users. For example, Facebook is a little bit older, whereas Instagram is much younger in terms of demographics. Twitter's all over the place. Twitter's just a free-for-all, I think. But interestingly about these social media is that on Facebook and Instagram, where I can run the gender, it's 75% women. And I found that to be pretty interesting, that that seems to be our target audience, whereas on Twitter, it's more of a 50-50 demographic. So I think what we're trying to do is figure out how to use the social media accounts to reach more people, not just the typical slice of what AHNCA has always been, but really reach across the different societies, demographics. Most certainly the grad students have been jumping on social media, and that's been really exciting to have the young voices in and excited about something that they may or may not have ever known about, which is exciting for me to say.
Mhm. Yeah, do you find people, especially the younger demographics, are engaging a lot with the posts, or do you find it more that they're following and learning about AHNCA and what we're doing?
I think
Well,
it
what do you?
depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaylee drafted up a bunch of posts around the Oscars. So
Yeah.
like 19th century works of art that related in one way or another to the movies that were up for Best Picture. And those were extremely popular. But I would say on Instagram, at least, a lot of our regular posting, we just get likes.
Mhm.
Occasionally people repost in their stories, but we're not getting a lot of back and forth in the comments or anything like that.
But that also, I noticed a couple of people will start tagging us in their 19th
Mhm.
century
Yeah.
posts, which is nice because that's creating a little bit more of a dialogue
Mhm.
with us, to know
Mhm.
that people are also thinking, oh, we should let AHNCA know about X, Y, and Z. And maybe they'll share it or at least have it on their radar in some way.
Yeah, and we've noticed too recently, I think this has been since the last CAA. CAA as an organization itself has been sharing a lot of AHNCA
Yeah.
posts. And that's exciting for us because we've been part of CAA since Pat Minardi started AHNCA, but it's been nice because it really reaches over a larger audience. And it gives us the support that I think we need to build the initiative and to have a broader voice, which has been really nice. And I've noticed that the print scholars have been sharing a lot. I've noticed that museums have been sharing an awful lot. So it's not just a matter of engagement in terms of comments and stuff. I think it's a matter that we're on everyone's radar now, and that's really good for the organization because it brings more membership to the organization and more readership to 19th century art worldwide.
Yeah, that's fabulous that it's having this impact already after just a short amount of time. Have you found since this idea kind of started to restart the Facebook page and get things going that your goals for the social media posts have shifted, or how has that evolved?
Oh gosh. I think we're still evolving. I
Yeah, I
think
was gonna say we're in the midst of it now.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like Teresa said, we started off just posting like, "Oh, happy birthday, Jericho," and I think we've tried to, I don't know, diversify that a little bit. So it's not just like, oh, okay, every couple of weeks we get like a birthday post on an artist, usually like a French painter, because Teresa and I are limited in our knowledge as well. So definitely like the need for other scholars, particularly even like with curatorial affiliations, to come in and take over the accounts has been something that we really want to push for, but we've been
Mhm.
kind of slow in implementing that. I think just getting the word out and finding people who would be interested is the biggest obstacle. But I think that's definitely something we need to evolve towards and are definitely
Mhm.
thinking about as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think also, and I'm going to put a plug for what Teresa and Kaylee just implemented, and is very excited as a result of what's been going on with George Floyd and the protests. They implemented a working bibliography to amplify Black scholarship in 19th century and Black voices and curatorial voices. And I think I mean, this is how we evolve. You know, I think social media is such an organic platform anyway. It's not, It's not like a journal. It's not like something that's stagnant. It's continuously growing and reacting. And I think that's where the power is for AHNCA, is that we can grow with the world around us through social media. And it's so instantaneous that it makes it, and this is exciting to say, it makes 19th century scholarship relevant
Yeah. And I
in the
think
moment.
for us to be aware of the things that are going on around us, and not just be, oh, that fun social media account that posts a painting or a sculpture that I forgot about, but really something that reacts on what are we dealing with today. How are we going to make 19th century art history and different forms of new scholarship, especially by young scholars, more and more relevant as well.
Yeah, I think one of the first things we reacted to was we were discussing how to include the flu pandemic
Yeah.
in our post. The
Yes.
minute we were all locked down, that was the first thing the three of us said was we should do something with the flu pandemic. Even though it's
someone reached out to us, but
oh, that's right. That's right.
we no, those posts never made it up.
Yeah. Well, it was a
It was a little
strange time.
crazy time. Yeah. We didn't want to rush to it and be insensitive as the situation was developing. And I think we put a halt on that pretty quick, but
Yeah. Yeah. I think we put a halt on it too, because everybody's life shifted online at home as well. And we were trying to figure out how to adjust to the new situation.
And we had a little bit of radio silence on our social media accounts for, trying to adjust to online quarantine life, but.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in a short time, you have experienced some really major events and shifts in social media in the world. And I think you've managed to respond to them really gracefully. And I'm so excited to see how the bibliography develops. I've seen, at least on Twitter, comments about that and people liking it and sharing it. So I think that's really encouraging and positive. For you're all young scholars, how have you used social media yourselves to kind of influence your research or kind of think about how you do your own work?
I
Well,
mean, I think social. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I'm going to pass that to Teresa and Kaylee, because I'm not as young as I look. They're the young scholars. I think I use social media mostly to reach out to people who have written on the topic. It's just another form of communication to get to authors and to talk to them. But I'm interested to hear what Kaylee and Teresa have to say on this.
I mean, I use it in that way as well. It's been really interesting to connect with scholars that I admire who are also becoming more active on social media, especially on Twitter, and to follow sort of what are trends happening in scholarship right now? What are the big topics that we're talking about also in terms of academia as an institution? What are the major concerns that people have? But I've also found Twitter in particular really useful for finding different sort of publication opportunities and talks. There's always CFPs circulating on those platforms. So I think I've now done 3 conferences that I found just through a Twitter post. So that's been really useful in just building my CV, obviously, which is important as somebody who's finishing up their PhD right now. And also sharing my own research. So if I'm in the archive and I come across something interesting, I can tweet out a picture of it and a little blurb. And I also get attention for what I'm doing, which is really sort of like a brand building for scholars that I think is becoming increasingly important as well.
My personal social media accounts are all private, so I haven't used it sort of in the way that Franny and Kaylee are describing, as to get in touch with other scholars or even to share like broadly what I'm doing. But I follow a lot of museums, and so I feel like I'm always like just keeping up with like what's going on. And like Kaylee, I found different opportunities and things to apply for through Twitter and Instagram posts. So that's been helpful.
Do you all have any advice for anybody who maybe has personal accounts but hasn't dived into doing it for their professional life yet?
Oh boy.
Things to think about or keep in mind?
I mean, I would
Oh,
encourage more people
yeah.
to join and get involved in it, because I think it is, especially for emerging scholars, something that's becoming increasingly important and looked at. But I would definitely advise to be careful on Twitter, because it just amplifies any imposter syndrome you have.
Yes, yes, it does. I mean, for me, I keep my Facebook really locked down. Um, I use Facebook differently. I've been on Twitter a number of times, but have actually deleted my Twitter accounts um, when things get too crazy. Like Kaylee just said, it can get crazy pretty fast. Not just because as scholars we're engaged in the world, so it's an instant reaction to something awful going on in the world, and it can be really overwhelming very quickly. So I use my Facebook to connect with friends and to scholars that I see at CAA, people I don't see often. So it's more of a personal, hey, how you're doing kind of account. This is what I'm up to. Let me see the pictures of your kids. Whereas when I was
Same.
using Twitter, um, I was connected to a lot of scholars, a lot of CFPs. And it's like Haley said, it's a great way to brand yourself as a scholar. I'm jumping back into the personal Twitter account again, but it will be professional. Since I just started my business, I need a professional voice. So, yeah, I would suggest deciding that Facebook is your personal, hey, mom, this is what I'm doing account, and using Twitter or even Instagram as a professional account, kind of like LinkedIn. Um, we were going to build a AHNCA LinkedIn, but we can't really figure out if that's a proper avenue right now. Maybe it will be, but we're just in the middle of building. So yeah, just be careful. Be careful what you say because it comes back.
Yes.
Um, kind of wrapping up, are there other platforms or other initiatives that you're excited to pursue on social media for AHNCA?
Oh gosh, we were actually talking about live tweeting, right? Were we, or live Facebook videoing some parts of
Conferences and things.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Especially our
grad
grad symposium.
conference.
Mhm.
We were trying to figure out what to do with the grad conference. I think that's a good place to start with, having the young scholars' voices and live streaming it. And so we have to figure out logistics. I think I'm the only one in New York at this point. And uh, it seems like the board is really excited about it. But we're trying to figure out the Dahesh, because I think that's where we're going to be next time, and that kind of stuff. So not sure. That's one of the big things. And of course, Kaylee was talking about scholars taking over, which
Mhm.
would be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
I, yeah, I think that would be great. And also, we were talking about doing interviews, or like we were doing, and this will link into another initiative that we're working on, is the grad, building the graduate pool, if you will, the young scholars support. We were trying to figure out how to do something with the older scholars, the more advanced scholars, the established scholars like Pat Minardi or Petra Chu, giving us advice on how to start our career, what we should do, how to write a grant, this kind of stuff, and using social media for that platform as well.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting. I've been really interested and excited to see how the social media has really picked up and been engaged, especially with current events. And um, the statement of solidarity that came out was fantastic. And the bibliography, I think a lot of people are going to be excited to see that and really use that in their scholarship. And so thank you for all the work that you've done. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing where it all goes.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
I would
you.
Yeah.
also just say we're always looking for help. So if folks are interested in getting
Yeah.
involved,
Yes.
get in touch.
Yeah, please.
Especially if you want to take over the account.
Yeah.
Give them a break. They're writing their dissertation. We need to represent that we're a broader society, and that we have membership, and this is the society's mouthpiece. So if you want to take over Twitter and you're a scholar, or you're a scholar working in a museum and you have a great exhibition coming up, or you just want to take over for something, please do. This is a really good opportunity for us to connect with you. So please. But I want to officially and publicly thank Kaylee and Teresa, because they are just the backbone of this. They've been so fabulous and awesome. They were given a monumental task and they ran with it in the middle of researching and writing a dissertation. And the two of you deserve tremendous amount of thanks and kudos. So thank you, you two, for just being so awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining me this morning.